Code Vein 2 doesn't try to reinvent the wheel, and honestly, that's both its biggest strength and its biggest problem. This is a sequel that looks at the first game, nods approvingly, and says, yeah, let's do that again, but bigger. Bigger areas, more systems layered on top, more story, and definitely more emotional weight. Whether that works for you depends entirely on how you felt about the original Code Vein, because this sequel is very clearly made for the fans. If the first game clicked with you, Code Vein 2 feels like a meaningful step forward. If it didn't, you're probably going to bounce off the same things again, just on a larger scale. From the start, it's obvious that Bandai Namco wasn't chasing a new audience here. This isn't a reimagining or a radical pivot. It's still an anime-styled, Souls-like set in a world on the brink of collapse, where everyone is sad, tired, and one dramatic pause away from tears at all times. What has changed is how much more emphasis is placed on story. This time around, Code Vein 2 leans hard into a time travel narrative. The core idea is that a disaster is coming, and the only way to stop it is to travel into the past, identify key figures, and then deal with the consequences of killing them in the present. It's a darker premise than the first game, and it does a much better job of tying story directly into exploration. You revisit locations across different timelines and see how actions ripple outward. Watching areas evolve gives the world a sense of history that the original game struggled to convey. When this works, it's genuinely compelling, and it makes the story feel like something you're actively participating in, rather than just listening to between fights. That said, this is still Code Vein. The writing leans heavily into anime melodrama, emotions are big, dialogue is long, characters pause dramatically, stare into the middle distance, and unload entire emotional backstories in a single breath. Sometimes it works, and adds tension. Other times, it feels like the game is desperately trying to make every scene feel epic, even when it really doesn't need to. If you already enjoy dense, melodramatic anime storytelling, you'll probably feel right at home. If not, there are moments that may test your patience. Combat remains the heart of Code Vein 2, and mechanically it's very familiar. Stamina management, enemy patterns, timing attacks, accepting death when you misread a situation, all the usual Souls-like rules apply. Where Code Vein 2 shines is in how flexible it lets you be. Build experimentation is one of the game's strongest features. You're encouraged to swap weapons, abilities, and modifiers freely without feeling locked into a single playstyle. Want to pivot from a heavy melee build to something more ability focused? The game makes that easy, and that freedom keeps combat feeling fresh across a long playtime. That flexibility does come with some caveats. There are moments, especially during boss fights, where it feels like the game quietly expects you to be using a specific type of build. If you've invested heavily into blocking or parrying, only to hit a boss that seems designed to ignore those mechanics entirely, the frustration can be immediate. There's also an issue with impact. Combat is responsive and functional, but attacks don't always feel as weighty as they should. In a genre where the feel of every hit matters, that slight lack of punch keeps combat from feeling truly exceptional. Boss fights themselves are generally stronger than regular encounters. Visually, they're impressive, and mechanically, their patterns are usually clear. Some of these fights are genuinely great, leaning into spectacle and forcing you to adapt. Others feel uneven, with difficulty swinging wildly depending on your build. Dying because your playstyle simply doesn't apply doesn't feel like a learning moment, it just feels annoying. The real standout feature of Code Vein 2, though, is its companion system. Unlike many AI partners that feel optional or disposable, companions here are a core part of the experience. They fight alongside you, deal meaningful damage, and can even pull you back from the brink of death by briefly sacrificing themselves. You can also merge with companions to gain powerful temporary boosts, with each partner emphasizing different stats and playstyles. Learning when to rely on a companion rather than pushing too far on your own becomes an important part of managing healing and survival. This system does two important things. It gives Code Vein 2 a stronger mechanical identity, and it makes the game far more approachable for players who don't want a brutally punishing Souls-like experience. Narratively, companions are handled better this time as well. They feel like they have real stakes in the world, and having them present during major story moments genuinely adds weight. This is one of the areas where Code Vein 2 feels most confident in what it wants to be. Exploration, unfortunately, is where the game starts to play things too safe. The environments look good, and there's solid visual variety, but the level design sticks closely to familiar Souls-like patterns. Narrow paths, combat encounters, shortcuts, and hidden items make up most of your journey. Early on, there are hints of something more ambitious: vertical spaces, environmental hazards, areas that change depending on the timeline. But those ideas aren't pushed far enough to make exploration truly memorable. Progress is often driven by the promise of the next fight rather than genuine curiosity, and that's made worse by underwhelming rewards. Many item pickups boil down to crafting materials for systems that never feel especially impactful. It all works, but it rarely surprises. Visually, Code Vein 2 sticks to its anime gothic roots. Character models are detailed, enemy designs are striking, and environments are bleak without becoming completely monotonous. Time shifting helps refresh areas that might otherwise blur together during longer sessions. Performance is mostly stable, though occasional audio hiccups cause enemy sounds to cut out or pop in abruptly during busier fights. When paired with minor frame dips, it can briefly pull you out of the experience. The soundtrack, however, is excellent. The music does a lot of heavy lifting, especially during boss fights, where the writing sometimes overshoots emotionally. And yes, the character creator is still fantastic. Deep, flexible, and dangerously easy to lose an hour in before you even start playing. In the end, Code Vein 2 is a solid sequel that builds meaningfully on the original without fully escaping its limitations. It's more confident, more flexible, and more focused, with a companion system that genuinely elevates the experience and a story that tries harder to matter. Uneven combat impact and conservative level design keep it from reaching its full potential, but for fans of the original, this is an easy recommendation. If you enjoyed Code Vein 2 gives you more of what worked, with smarter systems and clearer direction. It doesn't redefine the genre, but it doesn't really need to. Code Vein 2 gets a 7 out of 10. If you enjoyed this review, leave a like and subscribe for more gaming reviews. See you next time.